Hello, Cleveland. Welcome to the Dogland Podcast. I am your host, Anthony Joki. As always, got my co host, Jackson McCurry, alongside me to talk about the latest Cleveland Browns loss to the Washington Commanders, 34-13 today, unfortunately. Jack, another rough day. And as the announcer said during the broadcast, thank God we got the Guardians.
Yep, thank God we do. I'm not even wearing Browns gear during this one. I gotta rock the Guardians gear because they give us something to look forward to. What happened today, what has gone on throughout the majority of the season so far has not been enjoyable. It's not been fun, which is pretty sad considering less than a year ago, this was a fun, exciting football team, and it is now the direct opposite of that.
It really is. And, you know, I kind of joked like I don't know like what direction I want to head in here as we talk about this, but I mean there's so many different things that we can discuss and touch on, and I guess that the first thing is the offense because once again they have not hit 300 yards. They haven't been able to do it all season long, and when you look at um number 4 and what he hasn't been able to do. This offensive line gave up 7 sacks again today, with being a little bit healthier with Jed Wills out there. I mean, this team has no identity whatsoever offensively, and I don't know where they are going to find that from. I don't think Nick Chubb is going to help the situation by any means. And if you think that you're going to count on that as he comes back from injury, I think you're fooling yourself into those type of thoughts. So where do they go from here? Because Stefanski said after the game, he was asked about changing quarterbacks. He said that they're not going to change quarterbacks. There's no way the owner will let them do that. So where do they go from here?
Yeah, I mean, it's really tough to see how this offense has gone in the last 10 months. Like it from what we had at the end of the year with it wasn't just Flacco, it was the way the offense was zinging to, obviously the abysmal performance against Houston, then the wiping out of the entire offensive coaching staff practically minus Stefanski to where we are now. It's just like, what in the hell happened these last 10 months? I mean, and if Zach Jackson tweeted it right after the game, through 5 games, the Browns are averaging 3.8 yards per play, which is the worst offense since 2018. The Buffalo Bills through 5 games in an NFL season. So, and you got to think 2018 Browns was a rookie Baker Mayfield, Carlos Hyde and Nick Chubb in the backfield, Jarvis Landry and a bunch of nobodies at wide receiver, and a young David Njoku and a not so great offensive line. And now we have Deshaun Watson, who is a shell of his former self, Deontay Foreman and Jerome Ford at running back, Amari Cooper, who's not the same player, Jerry Judy, et cetera, and a bad offensive line. And I don't know how this offense is going to get fixed. The fact that Deshaun said post game that they are still trying to find their identity offensively, and we're through 5 weeks in the season is pretty damning on everybody on that offensive side of the ball. I don't know what the formula is to fix it. Personally, I mean, if you really want me to be honest, why did we change everything up offensively when from the time Stefanski walked in here to the end of last season, there was no real issues with the offense. Yes, some things could have been tweaked. Uh, some of the stuff that's going on around the league to try to make the offense better. Yes, they did not need to shake up the whole offensive staff the way they did. Uh, I still don't believe that was Stefanski's call. I think that came from above him. But if they were doing something to try to justify the Watson trade, I think that's a poor decision on the organization's part. And if they force Stefanski into that type of decision, then shame on them because Stefanski has done a hell of a job, except for this year. Which I mean, he's the head coach, he's the leader of this team. He should be held responsible for what has gone on, but I don't know why they felt like they needed to shake the whole offense up. And if they're trying to justify that trade, then that was just ridiculous because if he's not fitting in this offense, then I think that kind of tells you the answer. But I mean, the whole offense is bad at this point. The offensive line play has been bad. There's no sense of a running game, which was their true identity these last 5 years or so. We've mentioned Amari Cooper. Like, I just don't even know what to say. Like, this offense is so bad. And you would hope at times, like today, Washington's had a bad defense. You would have thought the offense would get going, and they couldn't get anything consistently going. They kept shooting themselves in the foot. Like, they only put up 212 yards offensively. Like, it's just as pitiful and it's a shame. And it's hard to watch. Like, and it's like, it makes me like want to get up and leave the room just because of how bad that they continue to play on that side.
Is it, in terms of switching up the offense, and you kind of talked about, maybe trying to justify the trade. Is this their eventual way out of it? Like, we tried to do everything we could to make him comfortable. And when I say him, I mean Watson. Make Watson comfortable. We try to get the best out of him. We try to take him back as much as we could to his time in Houston with this offense. Is this maybe the ultimate way of saying this isn't going to work, and after this, they move on? I know they would have to eat a lot of money in terms of the contract, but is this their way of just kind of saying we put their hands up at the end? This is we've done everything that we could, and it's not going to work, so we have to move on.
I mean, if that was the plan that, they're going to try to make everything work, then yes, that you would think this is it. But part of me also thinks that, like, it wouldn't shock me if that front office, and I don't know if Barry and them are like this, but wouldn't shock me if they pin it all on Stefanski and make him the fall guy. Like, and we were talking about it before the game before we were recording in the group chat, talking about how he's been like the PR guy for them. Like, anytime they've really had to talk about Watson, give or take a couple times, Stefanski's been the lead guy in the organization. You never see Jimmy and D really, except at the beginning of the training camp where they do their yearly presser, because they had to be via Zoom when Watson was introduced to Cleveland and everything. And you've seen Barry a couple times, but it's always they put Stefanski out there first and foremost. So it wouldn't shock me if they pin it on him to be the fall guy. I'm hoping it doesn't get to that point. I'm hoping they kind of, if they want to blame somebody, you try to blame it on Ken Dorsey, because I think it's kind of a mixture of his style of offense and Stefanski's style of offense. And this is what's been put out there the first 5 weeks. And it hasn't been pretty by any means. But you mentioned, like, if this doesn't work and things don't get together, like, it's just their way of saying we can't make it work with Watson. We need to move on. You could say that, because the fact that they haven't benched him yet, when there's been times he just looks like the worst quarterback in the league. But I think they're I think they're trying to make it work. There's also obviously the dark cloud hanging over the other lawsuit and the league investigating it. So if he gets suspended, then that's their easy way out of the Watson experiment. But I don't know. Like, they asked him about making a quarterback change, and Stefanski said they're not doing it. I don't know if that's him saying that or that's people up above saying you can't bench him. You have to see this through. The way it's going, like, it just means that the losses are going to keep piling up, which it's not all on Deshaun. I know we can say that and we'll keep saying that. It's not all on him. Like, the offensive line has not been good. I mentioned the running game not being there. Wide receivers have dropped passes. I mean, it's and penalties galore, like, keep shooting themselves in the foot and creating holes for themselves offensively. Like, it's a combination of things. And this is why the Browns are in the situation they're in.
You're definitely right. It's been a combination of things, and there are like two major points today. One was in the second half, they get the fumble, right after kickoff. I think it was the second play that Washington ran. We got the ball. They get down to the 2 yard line, and it's just a string of things to where they have to end up selling for a field goal. And the most damning one was, fourth and goal. I think it's from the 5 yard line or wherever it was. Um, they had to almost burn a second timeout on that drive because they had 12 guys on the field, and they weren't able to do anything. You don't want to burn a timeout that early or a second timeout that early because they had to burn one, just as that drive started. So that was one thing, and just multiple times today, like they took a timeout, where they had, like, a delay game. They almost had another delay game right after that. Like, what is going this is going back to, like, how we complained about the play clock when Freddie was here. How many times did we snap the ball under 5 seconds, and you could just tell that things weren't right? This is getting back to that point where they just can't even get a line. They can't get the right guys on the field. On defense, having 12 guys on the field, so, like, it just seems these guys are right now so disinterested in what's going on, and that's just a total team failure at this point.
Yeah, I mean, and that play you mentioned where they almost had to burn the second time out and ended up taking a delay game. That's the play where like Watson's just walking off the field, and him and Cooper both said post game that they had mentioned that they both saw that there was too many men in the huddle. Stefanski looked pissed. Watson just walks off and goes to talk to I don't know if he's talking to Dorsey or whatever, but that just looked like a moment like, why are we bailing on the play? Like, and it makes me wonder, like, is there something going on in the headset? Like, is there arguing there? Like, is Stefanski and Watson having a disagreement? Is Dorsey in the headset too? Like, is there arguing? Is there like conversation about what play they're going to call and stuff? And for the personnel, it really makes you wonder what's going on. Like, not only in the headset, but what's going on behind the scenes. Like, they I don't know if you saw the report. I did. I think I threw it in our group chat. There was a players only meeting last week as they're trying to like sort some things out. Like, it really makes you wonder what's going on behind the walls in Berea right now and in the locker room because it's never been this bad in the Stefanski era. We've never started the season 1-4. We've never lost, I think, three in a row. Or no, we've lost three in a row. I think at least one time in this era, but it's just the offense is out of sorts so bad, and it doesn't seem like there's any solution. Like, I think we all hoped Nick Chubb will come in and spark the offense. I don't know if even that'll happen. That'll help. Njoku had like a good 15-yard pass play to start the game off. But I don't think we saw him the rest of the game today as he's coming back from the ankle injury still. But there's no like solid concrete way to fix this offense right now. And it just makes me wonder if the losses keep happening, like what's going to be the big shoe that drops? Because we know the owner, and I'm sure he was seething in in that owner's box in Washington today. And we know how impatient he can be. We know he can make a move at any time, and it just makes me wonder, Anthony, with every loss that keeps piling up, like what's going to be the thing that's going to come out of nowhere, but we still wouldn't be surprised if it happened. I hope it's not something drastic. Like if they moved on from Dorsey and said Stefanski's running this offense again, it's his scheme, it's everything. I wouldn't be disappointed in that. I think that would be a good thing, but I just don't know what to expect at this point with this team.
Yeah, I mean, this is the kind of loss where changes can be made quickly, and I don't know if that'll happen. I don't know if it will be Dorsey, if it'll be, you throw Andy Dickerson under the bus for the offensive line. That's certainly a possibility. I doubt it would be Stefanski, but it's crazy to me that we are at this point only 5 games into the season where we're talking about this, and I half-heartedly joked, "All right, who we taking with number 1 pick?" Because, you look at the draft order right now, we're sitting number 5. So I mean, I don't wanna be there, but I mean, if the play don't get better on the field, it's really an unavoidable thing at this point. So I don't know where we go
We're
from
actually up to
here.
number 4 in the draft order, by the way.
Number 4?
Yeah.
Okay. Was that in the image I posted? It might have been. But anyway, you get the point. That we want to not be there. We want to be looking at maybe being the 4 seed, not having the 4th pick in the draft. And as of right now, you're sitting 1-4. The playoffs are looking like uh, a long ways away. Thankfully, the AFC North is you're still only like 2 games back of, the top teams in the AFC North right now, and you haven't played any of them yet. So, there's still a glimmer of hope, but at this point, there's really no faith in the fact that they could, make any noise in terms of reaching the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, we're sitting at 1 and 4. It's happened before. We actually jokingly looked it up this past week. It's happened several times. I think the last time was like sometime in the 2010s. I want to say it was the Packers or somebody, but they started 1 and 4 and they ended up making the playoffs. So can it happen? Yes. I mean, but you look at the AFC North right now. Cincinnati is right there with us at 1 and 4. They surprisingly lost that game to Baltimore today, and then you got Pittsburgh at 3 and 1, and then you got Baltimore at 3 and 2. Pittsburgh obviously plays Dallas on Sunday night after we get done recording this, so uh, we'll be 2 games out. We haven't played any divisional games yet. That's coming up here soon. So, I mean, anything's possible, but there's a lot of things that need to get fixed on this team, honestly, on both sides of the ball. But mainly the offense needs to get right, from the quarterback to the offensive line to the skill players, to even the coaching and whatever's going on there. Hopefully, Stefanski and Dorsey can somehow get this fixed, get it going, get it back on track somehow, because uh, you got Philadelphia next week, and then I think Cincinnati is our first divisional game here in 2 weeks. And boy, sitting at 1 and 5, 1 and 6, it's just every loss just keeps getting worse and worse.
So, let me ask this question, and, we have the Eagles this week, and if you have another really poor performance from the quarterback position, you are coming back home and probably being 1-5, with a divisional matchup. Do you even consider at that point to switch, or do you try and wait to the bye week? Because I know, it's just how we are as Browns fans, especially the ones that go to the games. Like, there it could be borderline, crazy in terms of fans calling for Jameis Winston in that stadium if, Watson starts out that game against Cincinnati and every incomplete pass will boo. It could get pretty ugly pretty quickly.
I mean, you could try it. I don't know if it's going to work. Maybe you even throw DTR out there instead of Jameis. I Who knows? I think there's so many problems on the offense. It's not all on Watson, even though he doesn't look good. Overthrowing receivers, missing receivers, throwing it too far to the right or left, not having a sense of awareness in the pocket. Because there were several times today he got himself into sacks more so than the offensive line. It's the same mistakes that have happened several times throughout the season. I don't know if Jameis can come in and all of a sudden make this offense going. Maybe DTR can't either, but it just seems like they're going to ride it out with Watson. They're going to, try to make this offense work, or they're just trying to justify, like, our offense wasn't the issue. It was him at quarterback. And the track record speaks for itself there with Stefanski's success with quarterbacks. Watson had flashes in that offense, but they just felt the need that they had to shake the whole thing up and try to make it beneficial to Watson when he doesn't even look comfortable in this offense. So I don't know what they're going to do. Would I consider making the switch? I think that it's been out there and there's national people saying it. I think that kind of tells you all you need to know, that it's not working with Watson. It's probably never going to work with Watson. I had mentioned on our last episode when we graded the first quarter of the season, we would like him to see him continuously stack good performances up. It's been good, bad, or bad, good, bad, good. And today was another bad performance. I don't know what's going to happen. It's just this organization is under some fire because there's a certain quarterback over in Indianapolis who's gotten a chance to start again, and he's lighting the league up again. And everybody's buzzing about Joe Flacco, not to mention the whole Baker Mayfield stuff, which I think is kind of ridiculous because if you were here you knew that that was never going to work, especially after Jimmy Haslam made the adult in the room comment to Chris Mortensen. That was never going to work. But the fact that they didn't want Joe Flacco back around after he helped carry the team to the playoffs, that's still one of the most baffling things to me. I know why they didn't do it. I think it's pretty obvious to everybody why they didn't bring Flacco back because of a potential distraction or a potential rift in the locker room. But it looks really bad seeing how he finished the season and how Deshaun started the season so far.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough to watch that. You have constantly seen the national media talk about it as well, and not just like the Browns, but um, also the other teams that were like, no, we don't need a quarterback, we're good. Kind of a situation. Um, it's so tough and it stinks that we're in such a bad spot, sitting down 1-4. Um, we could hope to get a little bit healthier. Thankfully, the offensive line, like we got Jed back this week. It wasn't great, but at least he's out there. Posick went down again during the game. Zach Zinter looks lost at the moment. I mean, he's a rookie, so I mean, rookie lineman. You can chalk that up to that. Um, so I mean, it's a tough situation at the moment with the offensive line, and I think that's the big part of their struggles. Quarterback being top of that list too. Um, but they got to figure it out, and they got to figure it out quick. I mean, thankfully, this game coming up this week is against the NFC East. We've lost three of the four teams from the NFC East. In terms of tiebreakers and whatnot, it doesn't really affect it, but you still have your overall record that you have to worry about. So um, we've shown that we've been able to compete with the teams in the division, over the last handful of years at least, and split most of the years. So you do have that, but they have a lot to figure out if they're going to, compete with those teams this year. Because you watch the quarterback play on those three teams, and it's like watching a whole different game compared to what we have at the moment.
Without question. And it's not, I mean, we could transition to the defense real quick and touch on them before we get out of here. But like our quarterback play hasn't been great. Obviously, like the whole offense hasn't been great, but that's the defense, man. They have taken a step back big time. And looking at it today, like Jaden Daniels didn't have the greatest game in terms of passing, but he made some big plays downfield. A bomb to McLaurin, which set up a touchdown, a nice touchdown pass to Diami Brown. Was great running the football on a fourth down play, scrambling for 34 yards and setting up I think it was another touchdown or at least a field goal for the Commanders. Their running attack was probably the biggest thing today between Daniels, Eckler, and McNichols. And then obviously Robinson put two touchdowns on the board. Like they completely decimated the Browns defense and they have regressed so bad. Like Miles brought it up post game saying they got to do some soul searching and try to get back what they had last year. But this isn't the same defense. And, it's the same cast of characters, but teams have really figured out Schwartz's defensive schemes. And it's been tough to watch because the defense was so exciting last year. It was kind of part of our major identity and towards us getting to the playoffs. And then down the stretch, we got exposed. And then we got exposed big time in the playoff game against Houston. And now the whole league's caught up and we're just back to an average to sometimes below average defense.
You could put the story of the game here. So on third downs today, the Browns were 1 of 13. We converted one third down. The Washington Commanders were 8 of 17. So, that to me is like the biggest story is not being able to get off the field on third down. Granted, it's because Commanders were in 3rd and 2, 3rd and 3, 3rd and 4 in these short yard situations, and the Browns were in 3rd and 9, 3rd and 10, and above on that side. So the defense certainly needs to do some soul searching. They also need to learn how to tackle again because it's just been completely atrocious over these first 5 games. So they Miles is right. They have a lot that they need to figure out. I don't know how quickly they need to do it, but just like the offense, everybody is on borrowed time, and it sucks to say, but I mean, if you don't um, figure things out quickly, you have the trade deadline in a few weeks, and pieces can get moved, especially if you're completely out of it. So I don't want to be in that situation, but they are heading there very, very quickly.
Yeah, they definitely are. I mean, the Amari Cooper trade rumors are already there. I, I don't think there'll be like a blockbuster move, like a Miles getting moved or something like that. But like, I can see veterans getting shaped up, or
Like Zedarius, definitely
yeah.
could be one for
Even though
sure.
I don't know if he's going to really bring any value because he had a sack today, but like he's been absent most of this year, coming off a couple good years for us, or one good year for us because he came last year was his first year, but like him being moved, trying to think Newsom, I could see Newsom getting moved, Elijah Moore, like some of those pieces, but like anybody, like any of our core players, I don't see them getting moved yet. Like I don't think that's going to happen right away. I could just see them selling off, collecting some draft capital, and just going from there. Like Amari would probably be the biggest one, and that's just he needs to actually probably play a little better because at the Browns aren't just going to sell him for whatever. Like it's if he's playing the way he is, you're not going to get back a third round pick, maybe even a fourth round pick. I just don't see that, but I could see them selling some pieces at the deadline if they're sitting at 1-6, 1-7.
Yeah, and at that point, season's pretty much over, and you'll have to figure out, a lot of things otherwise. So, I don't want to be at that point, but if they don't figure it out within the next 3 weeks, you're going to be, especially with the tough schedule you got, starting. Well, I mean, really, all year it's been tough, just because these teams that we were playing are much improved, and the Commanders are a case of that. You got the Eagles that haven't been great this year, but they're still a really, really talented team. That's still a tough place to play. And obviously, you have Baltimore and Cincinnati there too. So um, it's a tough situation, and they have to win their way out of it. And I don't really foresee that happening, unfortunately.
Yeah, I don't either. Like they haven't broke they've scored 17 points at the max this year, which is bad considering and I know offenses have been down, but the fact that they haven't even scored 20 in a game yet is just not good. And then defensively, they've already given up 33 points twice this year. And it's just they're getting gashed in the run game, and our secondary, which is probably our strongest position group, has regressed. Like it's just all around bad. Like our special teams have been the highlight. Like I think somebody said Corey Bjorquez and Miles Garrett are like the MVPs of the 2024 Browns at this point, and that's pretty bad when your punter's your second best player at this point so far in the season.
I'd probably throw JOK in there too because he seems to be doing
Yeah,
just about everything that he can to will this defense forward and whatnot. And I will obviously cut Miles some slack because how hurt he is and still trying to play through everything, still trying to get, still coming close to sacks, still getting sacks regardless of the injuries. So, at least those two guys seem like there's effort from, um, play in and play out. So, all right.
absolutely.
Anything else, Jack?
All I can say is I hope it gets better because I don't know if people forgot this. We're on Hard Knocks for the end season, and I can only imagine what it's going to be like if things do not get better with this team. What it's going to look like inside the walls of Berea once the cameras start rolling, and then it's showcased to the world on HBO and on Max because that's not going to be pretty by any means if this team doesn't get its shit together.
I kind of forgot that we were on that. So when
Luckily, it's all the division, so it's not just us, but I'm sure the NFL Films crews are ready to see what's going on inside the training complex in Berea for sure.
oh, I would imagine it's going to be an hour show. I would imagine about 45 minutes of that is going to be Browns every week, if things don't get any better. So it might as well just be the Browns on Hard Knocks, for the end season thing. When you had that pause there for a second, I thought you were just gonna say "Go Guards" and end the podcast, which
Well, go Guards, of course. Hopefully, uh, game one was awesome, was amazing to see how them get off to a hot start. And game two is going to be tough because we're going up against Scooble, who is probably going to be the Cy Young Award winner. He's been dominant all season, but I don't know. Something about postseason baseball at the corner of Carnegie and Ontario, Anthony. We've seen some wild stuff in our years, and it would not shock me if the bats become alive and they rock the next Cy Young Award winner come Monday afternoon.
it was definitely live yesterday. I can tell you that being there, like that place, there's just a special energy I feel every time I go there for postseason baseball, and it's just different. So we'll see if they're able to, uh, win tomorrow. If they do, you got 2 games in Detroit after that to try and win the series. But right now after that first inning yesterday, getting 5 runs without a single out was a lot of fun. That place was just ready to explode. So um, it was a good time, and hopefully tomorrow's the same way. And who knows? I
Are,
could
are,
maybe. What are
are
you
you
gonna
going
say?
tomorrow too?
Yeah, yeah, I'm going tomorrow too.
Oh,
So
amazing, man.
you know, I I don't spend my money on anything else really. So I will save it for sporting events. I don't go to the movies. I don't do much else. Um, so I mean, I don't care about spending it on postseason tickets. Um, just don't make the mistake I did and buy 2 separate seats or two separate pairs of tickets for the same game, which I did on accident for game one. Thankfully, I was able to resell them, uh, one of the pairs, but you know, we'll see how that all goes tomorrow. I think i- that place might will us to getting up the Cy Young Award winner, probably uh,
Yeah,
tomorrow. So um, I am hoping I can get my wish of a Guards and Mets World Series. That would be a lot of fun. The storyline would be incredible. For that, I would be selfish because I went out of the way. But it would certainly be a good time if that were the case.
absolutely, man. I mean, yeah, would love nothing more to see the Guardians go to the ALCS, knock out the Yankees, and then go to the World Series and knock out the other New York team. I would definitely enjoy
You're an ass for that. All right. On,
it.
uh, on that note, we're gonna get out of here. Be sure to follow Jack on Twitter at Jack McCurry08. Give me a follow at Anthony Jokey, Jokey I. The Dogland at the Dogland on YouTube, Twitter, X, Facebook, etc. With all that, we're gonna get on out of here. And remember, most importantly, go Browns, go Guards.
Go Browns and go Guards.